Hello luxury watch lovers! In this channel, I cover the background, fundamental design features, and things to consider before buying your watch. If you have a luxury watch that you'd like me to cover, let me know in the comments below. In this video, I will cover the 10 best chronograph watches. When we mention chronograph watches, things like racing, planes, aeronautics, and sports competitions often come to mind. The chronograph function is useful for racers and pilots or other wearers that want to use their watch to track elapsed time. If you want to track a variety of activities in everyday life, Chronograph Watches has your back, such as the time it takes to cook, the distance traveled to get to the subway, the time it takes to park your car, workouts, etc. Chronograph watches are as attractive and fashionable in addition to being incredibly useful and utilitarian. Like the ever-popular diving watch, many individuals adore the design of chronograph subdials and complexity, even if they don't intend to use the watch for its original purpose. Chronographs have proven themselves as the most adaptable innovations in the area of timekeeping since their introduction more than 200 years ago. The reason why the chronograph was designed as a tool for astronomical observations, but as time has passed, they have also shown to be functional in daily life. Here are the best 10 chronograph watches. Starting at number 10, the Bulova Men's Special Edition Lunar Pilot Chronograph Watch. Bulova is one of my favorite watch companies when it comes to the greatest watches for the money. Although they are a more reasonably priced watch brand, the quality is still present. This Bulova Timepiece Limited Edition Moonwatch is fairly well known. Its style was influenced by the Bulova Chronograph watch used on the 1971 Apollo 15 moon landing. This more recent moon watch includes modern electronics and has been faithfully replicated. A remarkable precisionist movement with excellent levels of accuracy powers this Bulova chronograph watch. The dial also has superluminous hour markings and hands to make the watch easier to read in low light. Taking a look at its design features, we're looking at the Bulova Reference 96B251, which has a case size of 45mm and a thickness of 13.5mm. We're looking at a lug width of 20mm and a lug-to-lug of 48mm. This watch has a Bulova high-frequency quartz movement, and its dial is protected by a sapphire crystal. It has a water resistance of up to 50 meters, and you can expect to pay around $695 for this watch. Moving along to number 9, the Tudor Black Bay Chronograph. Right now, Tudor appears to make everything he touches into gold. This little brother of Rolex is impervious to error. The insanely well-liked Black Bay is also offered as a chronograph. The 41mm stainless steel case has a polished and satin finish, and the tachymetric steel bezel is fixed. The recognizable snowflake hands, which were first used on Tudor watches worn by the French National Navy in 1969, are a nod to the brand's history. The dial has a date window at 6 o'clock and 2 subdials that are hollowed out for maximum readability, a second-hand register at 9 o'clock, and a 45-minute register at 3 o'clock. The Black Bay Chrono strikes the ideal balance between price, construction quality, and style. Zooming in on its design features, we're looking at the Tudor Black Bay Chronograph. Reference M79360N0002, which has a case size of 41mm. This watch has a manufactured caliber MT5813 movement, and its dial is protected by a sapphire crystal, which can withstand a water resistance of up to 200 meters. And for Rolex's little brother, you can expect to pay around $5,325 for this watch. On to number 8. The IWC Portugieser Chronograph. Everybody loves the IWC Portugieser Chronograph. It has the ideal combination of subtlety and flair. Since 1998, this Portugieser family member in highest demand has been the one with the most aesthetically pleasing appearance and recessed totalizers. The chronograph made by IWC put the Portugieser chronograph into a completely new category by outfitting it with the brand new internal caliber 69355. One of the most recognizable watches made by IWC Schaffhausen is the Portugieser chronograph. It fits practically every wrist because of its small diameter of 41 millimeters. Taking a look at its design features, we're looking at the IWC Portugieser Chronograph, reference IW371604, which has a case size of 41 millimeters, a thickness of 13 millimeters, and a lug width of 20 millimeters. With regards to movement, this watch has an internal caliber 69355. Its dial is protected by a sapphire crystal and it has a water resistance of up to 30 meters. You can expect to pay around $7,950 for this watch. Staying in the family at number 7, the Mido Multifort Patrimony Chronograph. IWC Portugieser aesthetics are available in Mido's Patrimony Chronograph for a fraction of the cost. It is based on the brand's 1937 multi-chrono model and is very fashionable with its rose gold PVD finish that contrasts with the deep blue sunburst dial, snailed subdials, printed white dial markings, including a tachymeter scale and a fractional second scale subdivided into quarter seconds, which is regrettably interrupted by the words Swiss made at 6 o'clock. A display caseback reveals the self-winding Mido Caliber 60 ETA A05H31, which is based on the traditional cam chronograph movement ETA 7753. The case measures 42 millimeters in diameter and 15.2 millimeters in thickness. Let's take a look at its design features. We're looking at the Mido Multifort Patrimony Chronograph. Reference M0404273604200, which has a case size of 42 millimeters, a thickness of 15.2 millimeters, and a lug width of 21 millimeters. Its ETA A05H31 movement allows up to 60 hours of power reserve. Its dial is protected by a sapphire crystal and it has a water resistance of up to 50 meters. And for the Mido Patrimony Chronograph, you can expect to pay about $2,390. Moving swiftly along to number 6, the Seagull 1963. When it was re-released, the Seagull from 1963 attracted much attention. It's a stylish, reasonably priced watch that pays homage to non-Swiss watchmaking tradition with genuine vintage style. 1963 features a hand-wound column wheel chronograph mechanism, the ST19, which is a resurrected version of the 1961 Project 304 movement. The fact that not much has changed since the 304 of 1963 is lovely. Zooming in on its design features, we're looking at the Seagull 1963 Mechanical Chronograph Watch Reissued Edition FKJB, which has a case size of 38 millimeters, a thickness of 11 millimeters, and a lug width of 17.5 millimeters. This watch features the ST19 movement, has a sapphire crystal, and a water resistance of up to 50 meters. And it is really nicely priced at about $560. Meeting us at the halfway mark at number 5, the Omega Speedmaster Professional. As you are aware of the situation, as a racing watch, the Speedmaster was first released in 1957. Things didn't start to get interesting until 1969 when the hand-wound chronograph landed on the moon with the Apollo 11 crew. This watch is among the most recent references that are comparable to either of these models. Except for the leather band, the luminous material used for the hands and hour markers, and the precise movement, which is caliber 1861, a more recent iteration of the original 861 movements. It is identical to the watch worn by the Apollo 11 crew, a real icon with contemporary sensibilities. Zooming in on its design features, we're looking at the Omega Speedmaster Professional, reference 3113342300101, which has a case size of 42 millimeters and a lug width of 20 millimeters. It has a manually wound caliber 1861, a sapphire crystal, and a water resistance of up to 50 meters. You can expect to pay about $5,250 for this watch. Hopping across to number 4, Tag Heuer Monaco. A tag without a question, Monaco is the pinnacle of vintage racing and the tag pole position design. Instead of minutes and seconds, the symmetrical design now displays elapsed minutes and hours. Even though the seconds hand travels around the date window for several seconds once every minute, the running seconds indication is now located at 6 o'clock. Tag Heuer created a straightforward structure for the displays using the new movement, but this also required a compromise. It was necessary to raise the automatic lettering and position it between the two registers to include the little seconds display at position 6. When we take a look at its design features, we're looking at the Tag Heuer Monaco, reference CBL2111FC6453, which has a case size of 39 millimeters, a thickness of 15.21 millimeters, and a lug width of 22 millimeters. It features an in-house Heuer 02 movement, and it has a water resistance of up to 30 meters. You can expect to pay about $6,350 for this watch. Getting closer to the top is number 3, the Oris Divers 65 Chronograph. Think about the bronze coal brassiere chronograph of 2018 when looking at the Divers 65 chronograph, and pair it with the 40mm steel and bronze Diver 65. The watch comes with a combination of the steel chrono with rose gold and bronze accents. We adore the fact that it has a 2-register chronograph arrangement with no date and a black dial with gold accents, making it ideal for any task in or out of the boardroom. Looking at its design features, we're looking at the Oris Divers 65 Chronograph. References 01-771774444354-075-2145. It has a case size of 43 millimeters and a thickness of 15.5 millimeters. We're looking at a lug-to-lug of 52.1 millimeters and a lug width of 21 millimeters. Regarding movement, it has an Oris 771 Solita 510 base, and it is protected by a sapphire crystal, which can withstand a water resistance of up to 100 meters. And this price tag is sitting at about $4,000 for this watch. Making our way towards number 2, the Tissot Heritage 1973. The barrel casing and orange accents of the Tissot Heritage 1973 chronograph is produced with Kessel classics in mind. They blend in beautifully with the vehicles that the store prepares for events like the Monte Carlo Rally and the Bernina Gran Turismo in St. Moritz. The new Heritage 1973 chronograph, which comes with a tonneau casing and panda-style chronograph registers, was inspired by the 1970s Tissot Navigator watch. Tissot does an excellent job, and the variety of finishes makes this a fascinating piece of metal to house an Etta Valjoux 7753. Zooming in on its design features, we're looking at the Tissot Heritage 1973, reference T124427160510, which has a case size of 43 mm, a thickness of 14.8 mm, and a lug width of 22 mm. It has an Etta 7753 movement, and the watch is protected by a sapphire crystal, which allows a water resistance of up to 100 meters. You can expect to pay about $2,100 for this watch. And reaching the top at number 1, the Longines Avigation BigEye. The Longines Avigation BigEye is one of the most distinctive chronographs in recent years ever produced. Titanium is even more wearable than its big subdial configuration. The petrol blue dial on this retro chronograph watch from the 1930s must be seen to be believed. Longines continues to keep a close and long-standing connection with the world of aviation. The brand has produced several pilot chronograph watches and onboard equipment, as well as other navigation instruments which aided the development of civil and military aviation during the first half of the 20th century. Let's take a look at its design features. We're looking at the Longines Avigation BigEye, reference L28164-532, which has a case size of 41 mm and a thickness of 14.5 mm. It has an automatic 688 movement and is protected by a sapphire crystal. It also has a water resistance of up to 30 meters. You can expect to pay about $3,225 for the Longines Avigation BigEye. And this wraps up my review of what I think are the 10 best chronograph watches. Let me know in the comments below which one is your favorite. I will also provide links to these watches below. Thank you for watching this video. Nothing helps my channel more than you watching until the very end. These videos do take a long time to make, but are a labor of love. If you enjoy this content, let me know in the comments. And remember, time is your greatest asset.